Hi, this is Doug Boutwell, author of the Totally Rad Action Mix for Adobe Photoshop. As the next part in our series of tutorials for photographers on how to get the most out of their actions, we're going to be dealing today with multiple actions on the same photo, ways to mix and match and blend different actions to create a unique look that is full of really infinite possibilities for your images. By utilizing multiple actions and blending them back into the photo in different ways, which we'll show you in a minute, you can literally take the 46 actions in the Totally Rad Action Mix and create an infinite number of possibilities that can take your photos and put your signature on them, so you don't get that sort of canned action look. So let's go ahead and get started. So I have already opened up a photo from a recent shoot. I ran Pro Retouch on it, so what we've got is looking pretty groovy already. Next thing we're going to deal with is ways that we can use some of the caffeine jolt actions and some of the black and white actions to further enhance the look we have going on here. So let's start by running Technicolor Dreamworld, which will take just a sec, and will leave us with basically something that looks like that. Look at the photo here and click that on and off. We see that it has done some really cool things for the overall tones and really richened it up. Over darkened the midtones, which this action has a tendency to do. And just as a by the way, that is why this layer right here was created. Package that into the action because it was a common problem to have issues with tones being over-richened by this action. And so the solution that we came up with was to create this action right here, or this layer in this action, that fixes that. So, what I've done is, click on the brush tool, make sure white is your foreground color. Yes, of course, that looks good. And then we're clicking on this layer mask right here. Click on that, make sure that's selected. Paint away, go for it. And this basically just lightens up the shadows and reduces contrast a little to get rid of that sort of over-rich look. I might even use it at a really wide brush over here. And that is what that looks like with and without that layer. Really simple. With and without the action. Pretty cool. What else can we do though? We've already done that, and we can take it a step farther. One of the things that's sort of key to being able to blend and mix the Totally Rad actions is the fact that everything starts on its own layer. So this Technicolor Dreamworld right here basically creates a layer group that you can turn on and off like that, or that you can change the opacity of by moving this slider back and forth here. And that'll basically reduce or strengthen the effect of the entire layer and the entire action. So watch what happens to the photo as we drag this across. We can get any different effect from 100% back to 0. And if we wanted it to be stronger than 100%, we could always just run the action again. That'll have the effect of basically doubling the strength of whatever effect is applied. So anyways, say we think that this is a little too much right here. If we back this off to, say, 70%, right there, that, let's go 50. That gives us a little bit of that effect, that richening up of colors and tones, without creating too much contrast and too much spill. Now, the next thing we can do over here is, I love running, especially as a counterpoint to Technicolor Dreamworld, the magic glasses. Oh, I ran the wrong one. This one. And that's going to magically make us a new layer down here. After it does all of this stuff. Ta-da! There we go. That has sort of a local contrast effect in the whole thing. Let me zoom in so you can see what we're talking about. What you see is it basically just has a tendency to add a little pop to photos. Very subtle effect, really effective. It has a tendency to counteract some of this spilling of tones that's created by the Technicolor Dreamworld action. Alright, so looking pretty groovy, right? What if we wanted to take it even farther? Some of these black and white actions over here have really interesting secondary uses used at low opacities for changing the look of a photo. So the red filter black and white, really like. Ran that. All that does is do that. It's a very sort of glowy way to do a black and white conversion. Really has very light skin tones, adds a really dreamy look to photos, and it's the foundation for some of our looks in color in Caffeine Jolt. But again, going back over here to this opacity slider right here, drag that down to 50% or so, and then see what it's done. It has the effect of sort of desaturating and lightening the whole thing at the same time. Sort of a very commercial look for things, and I really like it a lot. If you have blue skies in the picture, that's going to have a tendency to really darken blue skies. 48 might be a little too strong, so let's back that off to, say 25. Just pull a little bit out of there. See what I'm saying? Starting to look pretty good. So let us go ahead and work on another photo. So this next photo is from our recent wedding in Fiji, and what we're looking at here is basically the making of kava. Kava is a drink that is native to the islands and tastes a little bit like dirt. In fact, it really just does taste like dirt. Strangely good in a way, makes your mouth a little numb. Anywho, got this shot of this guy squeezing out whatever he's squeezing out to make basically dirty water that we're going to drink later, and wanted to show you some of the possibilities that we can create using the actions for this photo. Let's try using Rusty Cage, for instance. Rusty Cage has a pretty strong effect, and it's meant to be that way. Very dark, very moody, very warm, and actually meant to be almost a little too strong, because that allows you, again, to slide this back and basically decrease its strength to taste. That's at 100% right there, and I think starting out with 0, we probably want to back it off a little bit, go somewhere in 60-something% land. Just enough to add a little strength, a little bit of warmth, a little glow to the photo. That has the effect, though, of increasing the contrast to the point that we're starting to lose shadow detail and highlight detail. So one of the tricks that we do a lot is to just underneath whatever layer you just created, whatever action you just ran, add yin-yang right there. That runs almost immediately and gives you those two right there. One action to make the photo lighter, one to make it darker. So, using yang right now, I'm going to come over here with a fairly wide brush, paint in these areas right here that have been over darkened, bring back some detail there. We don't want things to be muddy in the shadows or lost in the highlights. Same thing with the yin right here. I'm going to run that along the edges of the photo here, right in there, a little bit right there, hit that right there. Contrast control. Turning both of those off, back on, off and on. Everything, we started with this, and already we've gotten us to that right there. Pretty darn cool. So one of the more popular actions in the mix is called Old School, which is sort of meant to vaguely approximate the look of like a wet plate process, old orthochromatic film shot on really big cameras, slow lenses, yada yada. So since it takes a little while to run the action sometimes, highly recommend that you catch up on a little video game playing. Metal Slug's a good one, Bobble Bobble. Nothing worse than wasting time. So we want to make sure that we're making the most out of our day. Take that, motherfucker. And then once we've come back, we can have a look over here and see just what a fucking cool action this is. Just adds a whole lot of shimmer and sheen. Started off with that. This action transformed it into that. For the sake of argument, I'm going to say that I don't like this and I want to keep going, but actually I really do. Once again, this is a really cool action to use at lower opacities as something to sort of desaturate and add a little bit of glow, little bit of depth, and a little bit of drama to photos. That's with and that's without. With, without. The other thing that you can do if you are so inclined is to use certain of these actions in just certain places of the photo. So let's undo old school for a minute and just get us back to this. We also have another action in here called... Where'd it go? Green with Envy. There we go. This action, similar to Yin Yang, by default doesn't do anything at all. Starts off by giving you a black layer mask, which basically means that it doesn't apply to anything. Click it on and off, no change. What's meant to do is be something that you take a brush, the same way we did before, white brush, white color, paint into this mask to specify the areas that you want to change. So in this case, this is really good at bringing out greens and saturating them and making them really pop. We can just basically click and brush that over these areas here to restore some of that sense of light coming through the canopy of trees. And as we back off there, click that on and off. Big difference. That adds some of the snapback. So there's that, and then there's the original photo. Oops. There we go. You go a number of different ways, but again, by sort of mixing and matching everything, and starting off with this background layer, adding your dodging and burning, and then some effects on the very top and finishing it off, you can get away from that canned look and create something really quickly once you're good at it that is very unique and has your own stamp and your own signature on it. So that's basically it. By stacking up different actions in the layers palette and using the opacity slider to sort of dial back how strongly you want those to apply at each step, you can take what are basically generic looks, mix them and match them to create something that's uniquely your own and that works for exactly the photo that you want to use it on in exactly the way that you want. No longer do you have to be chained to my photo looks like action XYZ. You can sort of mix them and match them in ways that make it look like something that's yours and not just something that came out of my head. So until next time,